the harsher moments. And the reason I think this is important is because a lot of artists these days coming in don't believe in the power of apprenticeships. And a lot of those things that, you know, when you come into tattoo, like you can come in green and you can have that personality developed through an apprenticeship in terms of like that tough exterior, being able to handle customers and stuff. And personally, this is on the record, off the record, I think a lot of tattoo artists are coming in soft.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That whole time. And there were certain things where I just had to be like, you know, no one was like, or, you know, crazy or abusive or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But, you know, hey, are you paying attention? Listen, it's just like, look at this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I said this once before. You're making these and they're wrong. You know what I mean? So there's something you missed. Right. You know what I mean? When you figure out how to do that the way they're supposed to be done, then I'll tell you about the next thing. A lot of people don't want to relinquish that kind of control. They want to give, they want everything given to them. You know what I mean? Or maybe in order, just much like in school, to get on to the next phase or whatever, you know, okay, well, that's just good enough. We'll pass you along to this. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Yeah. You know, there's a give and take with learning anything, you know, student, teacher, you know what I mean? What is it? That's really, really, really important. And I can definitely see how people get caught up in it because they're great. They're super convenient. You know what I mean? They're easier on paper, you know, their ability, which I think in particular, I definitely see why people do that in the composition itself, like being able to straighten lines or get a curve or something like that. But you should be able to do that by hand because, like you said, if your iPad dies or whatever, you know what I mean? Or, you know, you don't have internet access, like if you've never made a hand stencil, you know what I mean? Off of a drawing that you did, you know, and, you know, God, the stencil machine's down. What am I going to do? You know, that type of stuff. Yeah, drawing on paper is really important. And also, if you are doing drawings, meaning building the artwork in its rawest form, let's say, I've got to draw a dragon head. You know what I mean? But you don't know the basic shapes of drawing the, you know, dragon head or whatever, because you've never done it on paper, you know, that's not good. That's not good. You know what I mean? You need to learn how to draw basically. You know, you can't rely on it 100%. I will say I do use it quite a bit, but I still sketch in sketchbooks and definitely practice the basic shapes in pencil. And also, you know, lettering, I've definitely been revisiting that. It's not as popular as it was, but, or at least I won't say that. Actually, what I'll say, in general, when I see tattooing, and when I say lettering, I mean, in the sense of like a collarbone piece, a stomach piece. I'm not talking about on somebody's damn leg or something like that. But that
not this.
Yeah, that basic tattoo, God, that basic tattoo style lettering that has that like nice flow to it, be it Old English or cursive, I think is particularly important to be able to have like hand and paper skills to be able to do that. You know what I mean? Because also, if you have like control, or I won't say mastery, but an adeptness at drawing on paper in your sketchbooks, that's how you keep a record of like you learning. Not to say you can't do it on the devices either, but I think that's where personality and drawing style comes out too. You know, I really do, because it's like, let's say traditional or Japanese pieces. I think one of the main complaints that people might have that don't understand, it's like, oh, it's the same thing over here. It's a bluebird, it's a anchor, it's this or that or whatever. It's just like, yeah, it can be all those images, but they all can look different depending on the hand of the artist and how they draw that. And also that style can be lent to anything, you know, if you want to do this copier, you can just translate that to a basic, you know, tattoo style that will last as a solid tattoo, but not look like something that's overdrawn. You know, which I think is a problem with a lot of tattoos too, you know, is I think people spend a lot of time to over detail tattoos instead of under detailing tattoos, which is something that I try to do because that's what's going to last best in the skin. You know, actually, it was a series of interviews that they were doing, you know, one of the CBS like weekend shows. This is years back, but I took note of it. They were talking about people that were going to cooking school and getting out of cooking school and just opening a restaurant. Well, how come you just go? Why don't you go work at this restaurant under this guy? Well, that's not what I spent all this time going to cooking school for. Doesn't make sense to me. You know, how are you gonna? You might learn how to cook or operate or do something, but unless you go and work for somebody else that has been doing it for decades prior to you and has an established thing, you can't learn the information that will help you survive in the business. That's why I think a lot of people view tattooing right now, for me personally, is like, oh, I'm gonna do this for 5 years, 10 years or whatever, try and garner this attention around whatever, which is why you see all this other side shit with tattooing, especially on TV, you know what I mean? And then I'm gonna go move on to this, you know? They only think about it as a stepping stone to this. And when you do that type of thing, you know, that cuts all that off. You don't have it all, you know? You can get equipment and start, you know, and just way easier you could do it back when we're starting and prior to that, because I mean, there was a time if you did a lot of shit that people are doing now, they beat your ass, you know, or your shit would be burnt down or whatever, or even the collector or customer in general would know you were whack because you weren't an established thing, you know, or you don't have roots to something else that was established. Yeah, it is weird, you know. I mean, people don't learn. I mean, we've talked about this a bunch of times. The basic like operation of the quill relay machine. You know, how the needles are built or put together, how to mix ink, how to sterilize stuff. You can buy cartridges and all that pre-sterilized stuff, but if you're not going through the process of actually like building needles, cleaning tubes, you know, sterilizing tubes, bagging them, tracking their date, all that type of thing, you know, then you don't know why you don't know why you're doing that. You don't know why the needles are sterilized then. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just say, oh, they're sterilized. You don't know why or how. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.